exactly what Sir Optimist International has achieved in the last few years, and particularly with regard to Millennium Goals. Mr. O'Connor, your overview was very comprehensive, enlightening and enriching. And I regret, ladies and gentlemen, that some of what you have said I may well be repeating, because I do believe that we have a major challenge ahead of us and we cannot afford to be complacent. However, I do think that we do need to stop and think, and we must applaud ourselves in that much has been achieved. And I do believe, and particularly what I witnessed yesterday at a side event, that we must congratulate the continent of Africa because they have achieved much. Many countries have achieved much, and particularly I like the fact that they have audited what they have done, and they have put great focus on peer group review. And this is something which is evidence-based and can demonstrate what they have achieved. It would be an interesting litmus test for developed countries if they were to audit themselves. And before I move on as to what we have achieved as an organisation, I do believe that we cannot go away from here this afternoon without remembering the developed world and the developed nations should not be super confident, and that they should reflect on exactly what the situation is in their backyard. I am able to stand here and talk to you about Sir Optimist International and the achievements of this organisation on behalf of women and girls because we have given service for more than 90 years. So we're not a new NGO. And do not ask what a Sir Optimist is, but please go away from here this afternoon knowing that we are a force to be reckoned with, and we are a little tired of men. Because we do not believe that they have achieved all they should have done. And there are very interesting statistics, and there is evidence. Each woman in this room must be aware of the fact that 49% of the population of the world are women. One of the greatest scourges of the world and our failure to meet the Millennium Development Goals is the fact that too many places are still at war.
That's true.
And too many places are at war because men decide to do so. But what is more important and of greater significance, and it is something that each one of us must influence, at the negotiating table for peace, only 4% of the persons around that table are women. That is not acceptable, and we will not achieve change until we change that equation. But to look at the Sir Optimist International position, we wish to speak on behalf of women and girls. We wish to evidence to the world their voice, their perspectives, their opinions, their expectations, and their aspirations, their dreams. Beneath their feet are dreams. We have a responsibility to make those dreams a reality. Sir Optimist International, regrettably, like other NGOs, continue to witness and to experience the same types of discrimination against women and girls, which is unacceptable. The lack of equity, violence, imprisonment, slavery, trafficking, poverty, no opportunities, little respect, very little security, abuse. A fundamental violation of human rights. We want to strive for and we want to make successes in the world. We want to achieve on behalf of those less fortunate than ourselves, their dreams and their achievements. And we want to contribute by raising awareness and by lobbying, and by achieving, through our hands-on work, the aspirations of young women and girls. Education, healthcare, poverty reduction, food security. Clear targets are critical and have been effected by NGOs and civil society. The goals have secured a platform for continued action so that their vision can be achieved. And Sir Optimus International believes that much more has to be achieved. We cannot be complacent, and complacency must not appear on the agenda. As an organisation, we believe that post-2015's agenda must achieve so much more. SI will wholeheartedly address gender equality. Gender inequality is the root cause of slow development, unequal opportunities, which undermines attainment and sustainable development. The post-2015 agenda and the goals must reflect and focus on the most disadvantaged in society, and they are still women and girls. We must change the stereotype mindset of men and boys. But we must also embrace men and boys. We cannot go it alone. It would not be equitable. But unless we change the fundamental thinking of men and boys, we will not achieve equity for women and girls. This is what we must achieve. Your grandchildren's generation may be the first to be poorer than anyone else since the developed countries thought that they had everything they could offer to the world. Gender inequality is not acceptable, and we must do something about it in partnership with men and boys. Sir Optimus International will empower women, will enable women, and will educate women to ensure that this can happen in the next 20 years. And all of you have to be partners with us. Thank you.
Did she visit Rome? And when she was there, did she visit the Pope? And did she ask about the Pope's views on how to help women with regard to contraception?
It is a hard question to follow.
My name is Corinne Whittaker. I'm an independent consultant currently working with Engender Health on a rights-based approach to family planning. I'm interested in perhaps both, but certainly from within the UN perspective, on the need to link these larger long-term goals, be they MDGs or SDGs, to the ongoing monitoring that goes on within the UN. And I raise that because the UN Women now has a very strong mandate to actually hold other UN family agencies accountable to gender equity goals in all that they do, in all the diversity of their work. And how that level of monitoring, including, let's say, monitoring that might come around ICPD goals, ties into these larger frameworks and can be applied not only to state-level actors, but to non-state actors.
Okay, we'll take one more question, and then we have some answers and more questions.
And I don't think you're actually going to believe this, but yes, I did meet the Pope. But I have to qualify qualify that by saying he was a cardboard cutout. However, and not to be too flippant about this, yes, I was in Rome, and yes, I was at World Food Day, and yes, I was at the opening ceremony of that in the General Assembly in Rome. And I would suggest you go onto the UN's website in Rome and look at the statistics, because the statistics with regard to poverty and poverty eradication are quite shocking, and our achievements are not good. But I did actually have the opportunity to speak with the Archbishop, who is the permanent representative of the Pope at the General Assembly. And there are still huge issues with regard to their stance on contraception. However, I do believe that their stance on hunger has changed considerably. And the message from the Pope was in fact that something has to be done about it, and we have got to stop the rhetoric. So I believe that yes, there is a change in how he is approaching how things should be done, and I believe that there is very much a hands-on approach, and that we will see radical change. Whether it will go to the extent that you would like it to go to with regard to contraception, I wouldn't like to answer on his behalf. But I'm sure you could take a trip. Once you're back in the UK, it's very easy to go to Rome by train, and I would suggest you go and have a word. Thank you for the question, though. Well, you can make a difference, and the reason you can make a difference is because you've got the ability to think. And if you leave here and lead your club to go out there and educate, empower and enable, you will make a difference. And to go back to what you've just said, Claudia, the way we will change the mindset is by education. If we fail to provide adequate education, we will not empower society to rectify the misdemeanours of society. So education has to be pivotal to achievement. And it's absolutely wonderful to see that you do have a medal from the Peace Marathon, yes. Which is sponsored by Sir Optimus International of Europe. So many congratulations, because the marathon is no mean feat. To address the question of finance, it's probably the most difficult question that any of you ladies could have posed to us. And it will be the most challenging. But in my opinion, the only way that this can change is that governments will have to understand, if they seriously want to achieve, we will have to pay for it. And civil society will have to pay for it. So therefore, we have got to change the mindset with regard to that. It's happened already, even in the United States. You now have electric cars. That would never have been thought about a few years ago. In the United Kingdom, we pay for fuel by most of what we spend on a litre of gas is tax. So you've got to change habits, you've got to change mindsets. You can only do that by educating and empowering individuals to make choices. And governments have got to lead. And we have great power in democracies. We should not re-elect them.